you back again. And in this video, I wanted to share with you some information on the RACI matrix. So it's a very simple matrix that any one of us can be using in our projects, but it's really important to use one. And if you've not been using a RACI matrix or you want to understand more information on this RACI matrix, then this video is for you. So without any delay, let's get into it. Cool. So what is this RACI matrix? This RACI matrix is a document that clarifies which individual has which responsibility on the project. And it's very important for a successful project. Why? Because at the end, everyone knows what their roles are, what are their responsibilities are, what are they in charge, and what they are responsible to complete. So it's not like you would have a situation that people are going to point fingers at and said, I thought this was supposed to be done by you should have been completing it, I'm not accountable for such things. Or people are going to come up to you saying that I was not informed that something happened like this. Or even sometimes it could be a situation where people could say that you should have consulted me before even doing this. So all these questions are so much common, especially when we have so much of work going on and so many things that need to be finished. So it's very important for, it's not only for large teams that you need to get this RACI matrix. I find it so sensible, and it makes sense to, even if you're working on an initiative, to have this RACI matrix in place, and then you can sit back and be sure that everyone is aware of what are their responsibilities and roles that they would be playing throughout the duration of that project. So the acronym for this RACI stands for, R stands for responsibility, A for accountability, C for consulted, and then I stands for informed. So let's go one by one and see what each one means. Okay. So the first one is responsible. So when are people responsible? Okay. So when we say or mark a person as responsible for something, it means that they are responsible for a particular task or a deliverable, and typically they are going to be responsible for developing or completing that particular project deliverable themselves. That's when we call someone responsible. If you're responsible, you need to get that work done. Simple as that. And there can be only one person responsible for an item or a deliverable. The reason why is because having too many people responsible for something would end up with people again pointing fingers saying that I'm not responsible, you are also responsible. So no one is going to take up that ownership, that responsibility. So that's why it's very ideal that you have one person who's going to be responsible per task or deliverable. So a simple example is, let's say there's a task called as documentation for that project. And you have all your, the roles that are going to be in your project. So this is the format of your RACI matrix. So it's simple. You have your deliverables as well as you have all the roles in your project. And then you just need to jot down and mark who's going to be taking up what type of a responsibility. So in this case, for example, the documentation, of course, it's going to be the responsibility of the BA. So then you mark off the BA is going to be responsible, which means that they are going to complete the documentation. Okay. The next one is accountable. So when we say a person is accountable, it means that accountable parties ensure accountability to the project's deadlines, and ultimately it's going to be accountable for the completion of the project. Okay, that's when we say a person is accountable. So now there can be again only one person who's going to be accountable. Why? Because we just want to avoid people again pointing out fingers or not taking up that accountability or that ownership themselves. So that's why we want to mention one person to be accountable. Okay. And the next one is again, so an example over here is, let's say the documentation, you need to get the sign-offs, you need to get the approvals, you need to get your requirements verified. All that the BA is going to be responsible, still the project owner or the product owner is going to be accountable for that successful completion. Okay. I hope you're starting to understand the difference between responsible and accountable. Okay. The next one is consultant. So when we say consulted, it means that consulted individuals' opinions are very crucial. Okay. Their feedbacks, their opinions, their perspectives, all these need to be considered when you're kind of going to put down, or you're going to execute a particular task, or you just need to move from one step to another. All this is very important. Okay, so you need to consult. So usually consultants could, the people who you need to consult with, it could be your clients, your stakeholders, it could be any important person who should be consulted before you start something. Okay, so that's about who is consulted. So let's say that you want to assess impacts. So to assess impacts, you definitely need to get into connect, like engage, you need to engage with stakeholders, with the right people, to understand what the impacts exactly are. So that's when, for example, I've marked stakeholders are to be consulted. Okay, for a task of assess impacts. Okay, and the last one is informed. So who become, it needs to be informed. So informed persons are those who need to stay in the loop of that communication throughout the project. Okay, they need not be the persons who you have to keep going and connecting with, consulting with, or they needn't even be the people who would be well engaged or what to say, collaborating into that project directly, but definitely they need to be informed about what's happening. Okay, so these individuals, they do not need to be consulted or be part of the decision making, but definitely they should be aware of what are the project updates. So these could be your high level business owners, the management team, or whoever may be, the people who even are going to be affected by a change. Okay, so everyone needs to be informed so that they would be able to take appropriate steps further on. So an example over here is, let's say there's a change strategy in place, and before you bring out that change strategy, you need to inform everyone as to what exactly is the change that is being made. So the business owners need to be aware, though they are not indirectly, they are directly into that consultations and the decisions that were being made, but still they need to be aware of what change has happened. Okay, so these people kind of want to know, like on an abstract level, what's happening. It could be the project sponsors, they don't want to get into the details, but they need to be informed of what's at least happening. So when you put down all these details, it becomes very clear for you as to when you're completing a task, what needs to be done, so that you don't omit, or you don't leave out people from getting consulted or informed, and everyone knows what needs to be done and what they need to do. So I hope you got some information on what is this RACI Matrix. So if you haven't used it in your projects, please go ahead and use it. It's really super helpful when you're executing different tasks, and by now you would realize why a RACI Matrix would be important, especially if you have people on the team who are not taking up that responsibility, or people find it like people need to be consulted and informed. It's better to put everything down, get people aligned on this RACI Matrix, which is very important. This needs to be put down initially of a project. Okay, but what happens, like let's say you get into a project or you haven't even put down anything, better late than never. It's okay, get the right information, put down your RACI Matrix, and just don't put it down and keep it to yourself. You need to put it down, and you need to even get everyone aligned and let them also know what they are responsible, accountable for, and who would be informed and who would be consulted in certain cases. And that would solve your problem. So I hope this video was helpful. If you like this video, please do give this a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe to this channel, and also do share your feedbacks. Thank you.